Okay, guys, so we're back with part two. Now we're going to be talking about our oldest daughter, Hannah. She is 4 years old. She's our oldest daughter. And so one day we were at home. Hannah's in school. It was pre K. She's in school, whatever. We get a phone call, and I had missed the call at first. And then I was like, oh, there's a school call. Let me call back. I'm thinking maybe she was acting up,
Peeing on
whatever.
herself. I think she was just going through a phase where she was like peeing on herself.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I can't remember if it was a message that I heard and I called back or what. I think I called her and she was like, the director, she was like, yes, is this, Miss Smith or whatever? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, hurry and get here. Your daughter passed out in the classroom and the ambulance is on the way. And I was like, okay. And they was like, do you want her to ride in the ambulance? Do you want to come get her? We said, we'll come get her.
Man, we take much. And then oh man.
I was freaking out on the ride.
I'm so glad that we decided to say that. Because at first I think we were deciding like, okay, let's just let the ambulance take him.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Nah.
Yeah,
They gotta
yeah.
take it by her. Nah. It's our first daughter, so there's a bond. We love all our kids, but there's a special bond with like your first
baby, yeah.
I remember when they called, I was like passed out.
Yeah,
like,
I'm thinking, what? Yeah.
What happened? And so when we get to the school, I guess they through the symptoms that she was experiencing.
Yeah.
They said that she had a seizure.
That's what they felt it was. Yeah.
And I was like, seizure? I don't know nobody that got seizure.
Yeah. We went through a whole thing of trying to figure that out, and it was only like 2 people we ended up finding out that felt like they may have had seizures or passed out. And on my side of the...
See these jeans? Perfect jeans, y'all. Look at them. They Levi's? I don't know. Anyway, no offense to your family.
Yeah, really. Y'all can get them later. But anyway, yeah, so... And then when I first walked in, I remember I noticed Mr. Peters holding her in his arms, and that's her teacher. He left his classroom for my baby, and I was like, that just made me feel a little bit more comfortable that, that she had a good teacher that cared about her, even though he wasn't able to catch what happened at that time. I mean, he does have a classroom full of kids, so, hey. But the fact that he was out there with her, I was like, wow. When you find a good teacher, it's just like, Mr. Peters really touched my heart with that. So Mr. Peters, if you ever watch this, thank you so much. I really appreciate how you handled that, and you just, because he was the one that told me that when he found her, he tried to wake her up and shake her like, come on, Hannah, and she wasn't responding. And he said, so he kind of like slapped her in her face, like, come on, Hannah. And it still took her a moment to respond. And he said finally she kind of came to, and she just was like, I guess kind of in shock or whatever. And when she finally calmed down, he just asked her, he said, Hannah, do you believe that Jesus can heal you? And she said yes. And I was like, what that felt, I don't know, that was a great feeling, because it's like, you try to train your children in the way they should go as a Christian, and to hear your child say that she believes that Jesus can heal her, I was just like, that's my baby, really his baby, because he's big on the faith. But yeah,
that was what? That was like right before Thanksgiving.
It was almost a year, almost been a year.
Yeah.
And that day, my mind was racing. I just was trying to tell myself to be calm. That I was like, just be calm. You don't know what happened. She's gonna be all right, whatever. As soon as we got in the car, I was like, my mind was like, well, what if? I was like, oh my gosh. I knew that was nobody but the enemy trying to make me just worry. I really had to fight mentally, but. We got to the hospital. Did we end up having to stay long, or they had us leave that first time?
They let us leave, but probably my worst hospital experience ever happened that day. The doctor, we get there, and
this was the first day?
This was that day. This
What?
was that day, yes. we get there, and they're trying to get some urine samples, right? So they didn't even ask my daughter if she would pee on the bedpan or she would pee somewhere. She was up, she was okay, she was moving around then, and they was like, all of a sudden they just like, okay, we need to get a sample, so let's give her, what's it called?
They wanted to give her a catheter.
A catheter. I said, what?
Yeah.
That's like, you don't even why are you not asking if this person can pee first?
Yeah,
like,
if they're potty
they
trained,
had it, like,
you know. But they weren't. This wasn't the children's part. Yeah, we weren't in this like specialized area for children.
We were in the
so,
ER.
Yeah.
She might have been new. I don't know, but the fact that she said that was ridiculous. And then after the fact, because she had asked, and I was like, well, she can just pee, right? Like in the bedpan.
I'm glad
She's
you
okay,
asked.
we can do that. And then once I said that, she was like, well, good, because that catheter probably would have traumatized her. I was like, I never almost wanted to knock somebody out so much in my life.
So you was gonna set my baby up like off the break?
Because I know that I never had a catheter. I've never even seen one put in, but I know they're pretty crazy. And to put one into a 4-year-old, like that's.
Yeah, I've seen it done, but I think I've heard stories of on women. It's a lot different than the men. Not that it's not uncomfortable for men, but I think it's a lot different for women.
So that just goes to show you, if we would have let her go in the ambulance by herself, they could have did all of that and we weren't even there. So
yeah, anything.
If you're ever close enough to your kids and somebody asks you, hey, do you want them to wait for the ambulance? I mean, you're never gonna know the extent of what's going on, so you might have to have them go on the ambulance.
Just look,
pray
be
and see
still,
what
let
God
the Holy
says.
Spirit, yes, lead you.
Because I remember when they first asked us about the ambulance, we said yes.
Yeah.
We hung up the phone and we called back and was like, no.
Oh, okay.
I remember calling back. Okay. We called back and we said, no, don't let her go with them. Let her stay there. Mm-hmm. And praise the Lord we did, because they could have did all that stuff to her and we wouldn't even have known. She could be traumatized right now.
Yeah, that would have been jacked up. But I'm glad that didn't happen. But we ended up, during this process they were trying to figure out what was the cause of her seizures. At one point we thought she had hair syncope, because one time I was doing her hair and she just, seizures, dealing with seizures is hard.
There's so many different types.
Yeah, and there is so many different types, but just seeing when it happens, because she can't do anything about it. Her body locks up and then she begins to just shake. And you just have to be calm during the process, because you have to count how many breaths she's taking within like.
When she's done with the seizure,
yeah. Yeah, how many breaths does she take and how long did the seizure last? And
you have to videotape it. You have to count they want to see. You have to. There's a lot of stuff you have to remember.
Yeah. When
your child is going through something.
Yeah, because for one thing, they end up finding out that she has partial seizures. They did a test on her, trying to see if lights triggered her. It wasn't that. We ruled out the hair syncope thing, but they ended up through doing the I don't want to say it wrong, EEG or EKG on the brain. I will look it up and just put it like in a link down below or something. But they like put all these I don't know what you want to call it, things on the brain. Like it's a lot. They come in, it's like a little electrical hat, and they have to part her scalp and rub on it and stick it on. Like it was a long process. But yeah, through all of that, they end up finding out that I think it was on the left side of the brain she was having partial seizures. So I want to read something real quick to you guys. So seizures are brought on by surges of electrical energy in your brain. With complex partial seizures, the surge happens only on one side and in a specific area. It's called partial because only one part of your brain is affected. So during the seizure, you can't control your movements, you can't talk, and afterwards you're just kind of foggy. Sometimes she would pee when it happened. They would ask all these different things. I just remember the ambulance coming to our house a lot during this time. I would be afraid to go to sleep sometimes, because I just felt like after she had one, she was going to have
after her first seizure, she didn't have another one for like a week.
Yeah.
But after that next one, she would have cluster seizures.
Yes.
So she would have one seizure, and then after that, it's almost like tremors from an earthquake. She would have about 10 seizures after that next seizure. Yeah, she would have
5.
She would have like 10 seizures almost
one
every
day
week.
was like a lot.
One day she had like 10 seizures.
It was like a lot.
The next day, like 3 or 4 days later, she'd have another seizures and then have a cluster of them, where it's like 5 to 10 seizures again.
Yeah.
And then a week later, she'll have another seizure and then have a cluster of them again. It would be like 5 to 10.
Yeah.
And they would all last about a minute.
Yeah.
The doctor told us when you're having a seizure is almost like running a marathon. So to have a cluster, imagine running like 8 marathons in one day.
It can be a lot. She would be really
very tired. She
after.
Wouldn't move, she wouldn't want to talk.
She'd be cranky. Just didn't want to be, bothered. Yeah, we had to do a couple hospital stays where we would be in the hospital maybe for like 4 days while they're running tests, trying to figure it out. And like I said, the ambulance, it just felt like they were coming to our house every 5 seconds. I mean, and like he said, once she had, like, it would be the next weekend, she had another seizure. I mean, literally, at night, I'm laying there like, just on edge. Like, we started leaving her door open when she sleeps so we could hear her, because literally it would just like sound like or something like that, like, and that's how you knew she was having one. Like, I would just jolt up and run to the room to try to make sure, because you gotta have them on their side, make sure they're not near nothing sharp, and make sure put their head on, so it's not on anything hard where they're banging.
I remember one day she had I think it was like the second time she had it in front of us. No, the second time that it actually happened, and we actually finally saw it, because of course when she was at school we didn't see it, nobody saw it.
Yeah, the first time.
So it was at night. She called me, and I was working, so I'm driving like 80 miles an hour to get home.
Oh,
I never told her that, but I was driving like 80 miles an hour.
Oh my god.
And I just remember praying the whole time.
Yeah.
As I was driving, and just by the time I got there, she was already done.
Yeah.
Having a seizure, but she was still. For some reason, when somebody has a seizure, you think like they're gonna die. That's how I was.
They
say
that it could happen sometimes, but
if you have it long enough, they say you can die from a seizure.
They try to make sure it didn't go over 5 minutes too.
Yeah. And actually, let me say this: if you ever have somebody ride in the ambulance, just know it's gonna be like $700. Because I remember getting we had a bill. We was like, oh, dog, it's $700 to drive like 10 minutes
in an ambulance.
So just know that.
But I wanted to show y'all. So this is, what is this called? Diazepam. Now she started off on. Do you remember the name of the medicine she first started off on?
Clozapam?
No.
It doesn't matter.
I can't remember, but it's like really, I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. But that medicine was like, once I figured out, I'll just probably put it on the video so you can see, but that medicine like was not working to keep her seizures under control. She ended up having to switch, and now she's on topiramate. But I just remember, like, I think around the last time she had some seizures, I feel like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't explain. So the diazepam, we were supposed to give this to her if she had a seizure like longer than 5 minutes. I think there was one time that we felt like she did, and we had to administer it. And this, like, you have to put it
in her butt.
Yeah, up their butt. And first of all, they didn't tell me that it burns. The child was mad when I did this. Like, after her seizure. Of course, she's already tired, so I put it up there. She's like, it burns. We couldn't even finish the whole dose. We had to end up taking her to the hospital. But I was about to say, like, during the last, parts of her seizures, because she hasn't had one in a long time. It's been
a year.
Like, almost a year?
Her last
I would say
seizure,
9 months. Almost a year.
No, her last seizure was December 24th.
Yeah, so coming up on a year.
Because we were in the hospital last year for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like,
I don't know what that's about. I don't know what that's about. I don't know.
We didn't leave till 5 p.m. On Christmas Day.
Yes, we actually, that was a blessing. This time we actually got to get out of the hospital for Christmas. And the cool thing is though, when they're in the hospital during the holidays, they bring your kid. I mean, so you ain't gotta worry about going Christmas shopping. So many gifts. They'll even let you get gifts for your other kids. Like that's how serious it is. So that's one good thing I'll say. They really are about being a blessing to people and helping people during those times. But yeah, during the last time that she had it, I just remember really, God really built up my faith at this point. Because usually I'll be freaking out during the seizure. This time I was just going in prayer. I was like, I just have to have faith. I just can't keep, and this was at your mom's house, I remember. I was like, I can't keep being afraid. So I'm just pleading the blood of Jesus. I'm just speaking over her that she is healed. And most of the times when it happened, we would just be pleading, just Jesus, during the whole thing. I mean, it's not really anything else you can do, and why not pray for your child when it's happening? But we went to church one day, and our co-pastor, Isaac Quick, he was praying for people to be healed. He said that God wants to heal some people right now. And I was just thinking in my head, and I was just like, because he was praying for everybody, but he didn't come over because he was just going to random people. And I was like, even if he does not pray for us, God, I'm just going to believe that you're going to heal you're going to heal my daughter. I'm just going to stand in faith. And I think he actually went back up on stage like he was done praying for people. He looked over in our direction, walked over. No words came out of his mouth. He just put his hand on Hannah's head and just prayed for her. And she has not had a seizure since. I truly believe that God has healed her. I could say it's because they changed her medicine, but that's what I believe. I believe that he healed her.
I remember there's a couple times where in the middle of the night she would have a seizure. We'd have to rush her to the hospital. Technically, if a child's having a seizure, you don't technically have to take them to the hospital.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
We were doing that anyway.
We were going every 5 seconds.
And I remember calling our pastor, Pastor Quick, and just talking to him and him, assuring me and saying, the saints are praying for you and her and stuff like that. So that was so helpful. Just having a pastor that just loves, all the sheep.
Yeah, that you're able to reach out to. Yeah.
And I remember one of the first times. I think this was the time where I was driving 80 miles an hour home. I called my dad, and I was like, Dad, she had a seizure, a seizure. And I just remember, I wasn't breaking down crying, but I was like, man, I was pretty hurt. Just to think about, my girl, going through that. I remember that. Those are two really big things I remember. And we shared some things about how to help if your child does go through, laying them on the side.
Yes.
Making sure their tongue is not going down their throat.
With Hannah though, her mouth would be clenched, so it's not like you can. And you're not supposed to don't stick your fingers in nobody's mouth. Don't put a spoon. I remember as a young girl, this boy who had seizures. They were like, get a spoon. Don't ever do that. Don't get a spoon because they could break their teeth. Just lay them on their side. Make sure they're still breathing. Time how long the seizure was, so that because they're gonna ask you all these questions when they come in, videotape it. Just remember to just be calm. It's gonna be all right. Be as calm as you can. Breathe. That's all I can. Pray through it if you have to. If you can't be calm, pray the whole time. You know what I'm saying? But just watch them and make sure that they're safe. Because the first time I experienced a seizure, actually, really, where I was really aware of it, because when I was a young girl, I remember what they were saying. I didn't see the boy having it. I just remember what they were saying. But we were at a church function. Bishop Ted Thomas, if you know him, if you're part of Kojic, he was having his birthday party, sitting at dinner. I do not remember this girl telling me that she had seizures. Don't remember it. I do not. We were sitting at the table, and the next thing you know, she just she falls on me. And I'm like, girl, stop playing, because I thought she was like, that's literally how it was. I was like, oh, I thought she was joking or something. I didn't know what was going on. And her body tensed up and was doing the same thing and shaking. And I was just, I mean, all I could do was plead the blood of Jesus. I had no knowledge. Somebody else came over and was like, lay her on her side. They knew, you know, what was going on. And I'm just like, and I hate to say this because this was really an ignorant on my part, but I'm like, would she have a demon or something? Like, I'm just praying. I don't know. I'm a babe in Christ, y'all. Okay, I've been delivered from demons, so I don't know what's going on. I'm like, Jesus. All I can say was Jesus, just praying over the girl. But thank goodness for men and women of God who are in the medical field, because that I'm not. And that's pretty much it. That was part 2 of with Hannah. Like we said, we believe she's healed, and yeah,
She healed.
she's healed. So y'all be blessed. All right.